Alright. Welcome to a new video. In this video, we're gonna talk about artificial intelligence, specifically chatbots. Think of ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, DeepSeek, etc. But I will focus heavily on ChatGPT because this is the model that I'm using. A lot of people have this idea that artificial intelligence is inferior. Like someone using artificial intelligence is like lower to them, right? So I mean, who uses artificial? You're using AI, like these people like they don't look at AI like as something that has strengths and weaknesses. You look at AI as what can I say? You look at people using AI as idiots. This is how they look at them. There's people who cannot depend on themselves, but that's just one possible use of it. It depends on how you use it, because it's a double-edged sword. It has benefits, and at the same time it has disadvantages if you don't know how to use it. Concerning the benefits, first of all, you can generate information almost instantly. ChatGPT, you can ask it about almost anything that's available on the internet. You can generate an answer almost immediately because it relies on probability. It predicts based on probability. It's not like a human with intelligence, a conscious human with intelligence that thinks of an answer. It relies on the algorithm of ChatGPT is based on mathematical formulas. It follows order, right? What it can do is deterministic. It cannot go outside of the code, right? So it cannot do something that is outside of the code. It cannot suddenly start going out of control. I mean, this can be. I mean, some theories suggest that if AI surpasses humans in intelligence, when we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about like how good it imitates human intelligence, like whether it surpasses human intelligence, whether it has a lot of knowledge not available to human intelligence, like whether it's more precise, whether it's you know what I'm saying. This is how when we talk about intelligence, that's what we mean. Specifically artificial intelligence. It's not the same as human intelligence. Human intelligence is broad. I can only imitate intelligence, but intelligence is a characteristic of a conscious being that has experience, right? So when we say about machine intelligence, we're talking about how good it can imitate humans, or whether it beats humans at specific tasks. This is what we mean by machine intelligence, even if there is no real intelligence behind that, even if it's just math at the core. It can already surpass humans in many things. Like, for example, instant generation of information. It can give you perspectives of various philosophers, various psychologists, various experts at different domains. You might ask about, for example, about the different views of different, like what different experts think of a particular thing, of a particular idea or particular topic. And philosophy, for example, can give you various perspectives of different philosophers, various positions. I mean, some you might have never thought of, which can help improve your understanding and your knowledge as well. Yeah, so these are some of the benefits. What else? It can help you improve your reasoning, the use of logic. It revises its own use of logic very well. Before it says something, it examines whether the conclusion follows or not. It's more careful than a typical human. And it's also precise in its formulation. It uses almost, mostly, largely, rarely. Humans, bro, a lot of humans, they just tend to talk, like they generalize, overgeneralize whatever they know of. Even if it's coming from limited data, from incomplete data, They talk with confidence, they talk with certainty. I mean, I could make a video about intelligence specifically, but this correlates with poor argumentative competence. But it can also like the display of confidence without evidence, for example, the display of or acting like you are, or formulating sentences with certainty or ideas with certainty, as if they are absolute truths. This correlates with in argumentation. This could correlate with poor argumentative competence or bad argumentative competence, or low, I would say, low argumentative competence. But it could be considered like for example, talking with probabilities when you don't have sufficient or when there is a margin of error, where you don't have definitive evidence, acknowledging uncertainty, right? Changing your stance or beliefs if you encounter counter evidence. This could correlate with good argumentative competence on the other hand, but also there are some aspects of intelligence, though intelligence is so broad to be defined with 5 traits or like some videos suggest. But anyways, yeah, so getting back to the topic. These are some of the benefits. It can help with coding, though it's not that great in coding. It has a lot of problems. It depends on the language, of course. You could probably excel more in popular coding languages like C++ and Python compared to SCM. If you don't know what SCM is basically the programming language of older GTA games like GTA Vice City, GTA 3, and GTA San Andreas. There isn't much available information about it online, but you cannot code, from my experience, you cannot code in these languages. It requires OP codes. And even if you give it the OP codes that come with the Sunny Builder, the platform used to code in this language, right? In GTA games, it still wouldn't make write the code correctly. Now, these are some real limitations. Even if you give it like an example, like from the main script, for example, containing the missions, the coding of the missions, it still wouldn't be able to replicate that. From my experience, it would still make a lot of mistakes. So this is an area where it's really weak compared to, for example, philosophy or psychology, like areas where it has a lot of information in the database. So it depends on the domain. We talk about accuracy. I heard that ChatGPT, like with ChatGPT 5, right? I heard that it's estimated to be in between 80 and 90% accurate. But that depends on the domain, because when we talk about accuracy, it's not something stable across everything. It depends on the domain. It depends on where it takes information from. Does it have in its data sets or not? Sometimes it confuses. It commits retrieval errors. For example, you ask it about the date of something. For example, I asked it about when does like the chronological timing of the events of GTA 3. It confused it with Liberty's story. It said 1998 when the correct answer is 2001. So it's not that it doesn't have knowledge, but it makes retrieval errors sometimes. Yeah, sometimes it generally lacks knowledge. It's not perfect, and for people who say that it does commit mistakes, I mean, that's basically stating the obvious, because we all know it's not omniscient. We all know it's not all-knowing. So what's the point of even saying that? And if it makes mistakes, then it could potentially mislead you, because if you don't check like the information, if you don't analyze it, if you don't question it, then you could just follow it, blindly accept it, which could lead to exactly these problems that I mentioned. Like you follow blindly, like you just trust. It could lead to misleading. It could lead to misinformation. Yeah, so these are some of there is also like a problem with concerning some of negatives, right? So there are always a problem called hallucination. Sometimes when the model doesn't know information about something, it hallucinates facts. It hallucinates studies. It gives you fake studies, and you can notice this. You can notice this phenomenon more in cases like when you ask it about the characters within a movie or within an anime. You start coming up with characters that don't even exist. This is a problem as well. But the problem is that they couldn't find a solution to this. It's part of. They could reduce it. You could reduce its frequency with with the latest ChatGPT version, ChatGPT 5. Now, when I heard about this information, it was a while back. The free version back then was ChatGPT 3.5, I think. Now ChatGPT 5.5, I think, is the default. The Pro version, I think, for 5.6, something like the paid version, I would say. Because there is the Plus, there is the Pro, right? I don't know if you use the same model for these, but these are like basically what you pay for, right? Yeah, so it's part of the large language models. So this is why they couldn't like find a definitive solution for this phenomenon. So these are concerning some of the negatives. What else? Yeah, if you ever rely on it, you risk stagnating in cognitive development. There is a study about brain activity. A person who relied on himself to write an essay, another who relied on the internet, and another that relied on ChatGPT. They tried to measure the brain connectivity, or the brain activity, I would say, brain activity in all of the individuals. They found that the person who relied on himself, he had the most brain activity, followed by the person who relied on the internet, and the person who relied on ChatGPT came up last with the least brain activity. This indicates that ChatGPT could harm, like this AI use could harm your brain activity, like how much effort your mind uses. But it's only like, and to be precise, this is not guaranteed. It depends on how you use it, as I said in the beginning. And I'm talking specifically about the use that involves skipping the process called processing. When you just consume information, when you just try to copy and paste, when you're just trying to learn that information, you don't examine it. You don't examine it, you don't challenge it, so there is no active learning, right? You don't examine it, you don't challenge it, you don't, I would say critical thinking, though active learning is different, because sometimes when you're writing an essay, you don't require learning, right? You just require understanding. When you skip that, it can lead to cognitive stagnation over time, because you're not using your brain enough. Unless you use it on different tasks, and that's a different idea. You know what I'm saying? Then it's different. But talking about ChatGPT, the use of ChatGPT specifically, like how to use it well, right? How to use it efficiently. You need to engage with the information it provides. You need to verify that information. You need to ask questions. You don't need to just consume. You ain't gotta skip the step of processing. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna say. So it's basically a double-edged sword. Concerning the differences between Gemini and ChatGPT. Gemini is said to be like better for when it comes to research, analyzing documents, and it's said to be more accurate. Though I don't really see how is that. From my experience, ChatGPT is the one who's more accurate, who's the one who's more precise. Because I did ask them together. Though I don't use Gemini too much, but I did ask like the website version of Gemini, the one available on Google, not the Google search one, because the Google search one relies heavily on sources. Some of them are not that reliable, not because the people using them are not experts, but because, but I would say not because there is no available information, but the people like using them are generally not experts. I would say they might be, but a lot of people, they use fake credentials, like on Quora, for example. Or Reddit, I mean, everyone can say anything, so anyone can say anything. So yeah, not a lot of experts. There is not a lot of, you get what I'm saying? So you can just take information from there, right? And doesn't mean that experts ain't gotta provide the evidence or justification for their claims. It's just that they are taken into account more seriously. Because of who they are, because of their expertise, because of their qualifications. Yeah, so that's basically the idea. DeepSeek was invented by the Chinese, right? It was, I don't know the company's name exactly, but yeah, there was a person. I mean, people usually refer to a person developing it, but it's probably a person who's leading a company. It's a company, not just one person. Yeah, so this could create a misconception. If you think that only one person that invited an AI chatbot that sophisticated, who could compete with ChatGPT, who gives the same, like, or provides the same tasks for less cost, right? So I think the paid version is many times, I think dozens of times cheaper, I think, than ChatGPT's paid version. I don't know if they compare it with Plus or Pro, but it is way cheaper, I would say, providing the same tasks, I think. They probably are different in terms of strengths and weaknesses, because it's hard to find a ChatGPT like chatbot, right? A chatbot like ChatGPT, like Gemini or Claude, that is one that is better than one in all relevant aspects or objectively. It's usually in many aspects, but you'll find the other model to be better in other aspects as well. So it's usually a model. Having strengths and weaknesses, right? They don't excel at everything, and even the things they excel, they may not excel better than another model. Same for the opposite. Yeah, so this is the thing. Claude is said to be better at reasoning, the use of logic. ChatGPT is better at creativity, right? At coding than Gemini. That's what they say, though I would say they are both terrible at coding, unless you are an expert who can guide the AI, who can tell it the steps of what to follow, what to do exactly. You can debug the code, you can correct it. I've seen some experts create Flappy Bird-like games, but that requires you knowing what to do, right? So you cannot just rely on it completely. It's still not independent. You cannot create everything from scratch. It still needs human supervision. So it's more like a tool that supports, not one that replaces, at least at the moment. Unless we talk about superhuman AI, when it's an AI that surpasses humans in almost all relevant aspects, then it could potentially generate other AIs. It could potentially rewrite its code to escape human control, right? This is plausible even without reaching the superhuman phase, AI phase, which is estimated to be, so some estimate in the next few years, some estimate in the next few decades, some even go as far as saying centuries. So it's not really clear, right, whether we could reach such a thing, if such thing is plausible, but which I really think is. I mean, the direction the AI is going, the fact that it's not limited by the same constraints we humans are limited by, the memory, the thinking speed, right? The understanding, right? So it doesn't really rely on true understanding as we do. It just relies on mathematical, you know what I'm saying? So it just relies on imitation of that understanding, I would say. Yeah, so in this stage it could really excel because it relies on algorithm, like its quality relies on algorithmic quality, like its potential, I would say, relies on algorithmic quality. It relies on the computational speed and power. So it has a way higher potential. Speaking of pure potential, look at chess. Look at video games like Dota 2. I mean, engines like Stockfish, OpenAI 5, Dota 2 bots. They use reinforcement learning, but look at their potential. They just have been trained for very small amounts of time, in real time, right? That's way more. For example, even that small amount of in real time training is like 45,000 years for the Dota 2 bots. It's like how many for the Alpha Zero chess bot? Get what I'm saying? Even Stockfish relies on neural networks. This is not this is not the topic of the video, but even Stockfish relies on neural networks, not self-learning, but it does rely on neural networks, right? So And what we mean by neural network is these neural pathways, right? That connects nodes of information. It leads to the model learning over time, right? Anyways, I see the direction with the AI chatbots. They are still making a lot of mistakes. There's still a lot of room to improve in terms of accuracy and precision, right? I mean, in certain domains, I would say more than others. When it comes to specific domains, for example, obscure video games, obscure coding languages, there is still a lot of room to improve. But yeah, I could see that it has great potential. I mean, based on the feats, since they are implementing neural networks as well now, since the models are constantly learning and updating their information, right? So I could see it could lead to something great, and it definitely has the potential to surpass humans. Not in everything. There are still practical judgments about reality that require experience. For example, judges could still give sentences that are human judges could still excel more. For example, when it comes to law and all that, they still cannot experience emotions. They still, or I would say, don't experience emotions the way humans do. So you don't have a conscious experience. You could imitate these emotions, but they don't truly experience them. And they don't observe reality directly. So they still gonna rely on human information. They could still rely on human knowledge, on observation. So they are constrained by that. If they could directly observe everything, they could extract information. They could extract the information themselves. But from now, they have to rely on human information. But they could get to results that the humans can get to. This is the thing. But they can't derive something from reality that humans didn't derive, because that would require direct observation and experimentation, which they lack. Unless we talk about robots, for example, using reinforcement learning. They observe the world, they test on the world. There are multiple copies of them. They don't need rest. They do their tasks 24/7 with extreme precision, with no fatigue, with no physical nor mental fatigue. Then they could probably excel. I would say they would excel. Yeah, they would surpass humans. Given the enough computational power and speed, given a good algorithmic quality, the fact that they don't forget, right? The fact that they scan everything in the span of seconds, the fact that they aren't influenced by biases like cognitive biases, emotional biases. They don't have emotions. They are not influenced by confirmation bias. They don't have beliefs. They don't look for evidence that supports belief. They examine things more objectively than us. I mean, this could lead to improvements, so a lot of improvements. You could eliminate a lot of human weaknesses, a lot of human limitations, biological limitations. We could see better results. Same applies for teaching, for example. It could lead to better results. But yeah, whether this is achievable in the near future is debatable, right? But yeah, anyways, if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're new, and I'm out. Peace.